Okay. I think the number of participants is still rapidly increasing, but in the interest of time, we'll just get started here. So on behalf of the Gemini Observatory NOIRLab staff, it is such a great pleasure to virtually welcome you all to the 2021 Gemini Science Meeting. My name is Janice Lee, and I began serving as the Gemini Chief Scientist just this past March. And on each day of this 4-day conference, we'll start with this welcome. It'll include a round of announcements to help us all get oriented. And really, it's to help everyone get the most out of all the presentations that we've planned and the features of our meeting platform. So as many of you know, Gemini Science Meetings have been organized about every 3 years since the beginning of Gemini operations in 2000. And this is the very first time it's being held virtually. An in-person meeting was planned to celebrate Gemini's 20th anniversary last summer for Seoul, South Korea, but it was postponed for 2 years, actually, until next year due to the pandemic. There's just been enormous interest from the Gemini user community for a virtual meeting this year to bridge the gap until we can hopefully meet again in person in Seoul in 2022. So the organizing committees composed entirely of Gemini staff for this very first virtual meeting have been very hard at work to lay the foundations, the groundwork, both technically and programmatically for a successful and productive meeting. So as we all know from being on Zoom for the last 18 months, interaction and networking are really difficult in a virtual meeting environment. So what we're doing here is to experiment with hosting this Gemini Science Meeting on Whova. Whova is an integrated events management platform. It's also used by the Canadian Astronomical Society for their annual meetings. And the experience we're gaining from hosting this meeting, I think will serve us well going into the future. We're really witnessing a phase transition in demand for virtual meetings, and they've had the benefit of broadening participation greatly in our scientific meetings. And they are more climate neutral relative to traditional in-person meetings. So in some senses, this meeting also serves as a pilot for future virtual Gemini conferences. And so we really welcome your feedback on what's working well and what could work better as we go along. Now, despite the historic challenges that we've all experienced, and the observatory has experienced over the last 18 months, it really is an important time to be bringing together the Gemini community. We're at a new dawn for both Gemini and astrophysics, with the renewal of Gemini capabilities really gaining momentum, as we'll be hearing about today and over the next 3 days. It's a renewal in the era of LIGO, ALMA, Webb, Rubin, Euclid, and Roman. First light for both the James Webb Space Telescope and the Vera Rubin Observatory will both be coming relatively soon. And the release of the US Decadal Survey, the Astro 2020 report, is on the horizon. So as some of you have heard Matt Mountain, president of AURA, saying this could be and will likely be Gemini's decade. Now, unsurprisingly, given all this, the results of the community survey that we had in the spring showed a real overwhelming interest in hearing updates about this revitalization of Gemini capabilities. And so this year, the program has a special focus on upcoming instrumentation. And so talks by many Gemini staff will be featured. We've also scheduled invited science talks, observatory updates, hands-on training sessions, and we've tried to build in generous time for questions and discussion. But as you've noticed already, and we've got some questions on this, we haven't solicited contributed talks and posters in the interest of time, but hopefully we'll bring those back next year when we meet in person again. Now on to some reminders. It was a real challenge trying to figure out how to accommodate the needs of the overall partnership, given that there's an enormous range of time zones spanned. So each day we'll limit our activities to 3 to 4 hours each day, starting at approximately the same time right now. If you take a look at your agendas, you'll see that, if you take a look at the Whova app up here, there have been a lot of questions about what time zone the meeting agenda is posted in. If you switch to local time, it should automatically, you should be automatically able to view it in your local time zone. If you switch to event time, all the times will be displayed in Hawaii time. Some other features of the agenda is that each day we have a 1-hour workshop. Today, we have a mask making workshop. Tomorrow, we have a workshop in workplace inclusivity. Wednesday on TOO planning, and Thursday on data reduction with dragons. On social media, post with the hashtag Gemini OBS21. If you are trying to get on our Twitter feed, which looks like this, even if you retweet, you have to include the hashtag to have it come up here on our feed. Another reminder in terms of trying to promote interaction beyond just sitting and watching people's talks, we have chat sessions with speakers, which are showing up on the agenda, but you're welcome to join, but it's best to sign up to reserve a 10-minute slot. If you go into the agenda, you'll see where this Google spreadsheet is and the schedule when speakers have scheduled themselves to have these 30-minute office hours. The links are also all posted on that Google sheet. They're not necessarily all on the Whova app, since Whova only gives us a limited number of VideoCon channels. So please take a look there as you listen to the talks. If you want to follow up with the speakers, go ahead and sign up. A lot of questions have also come up about how we're doing question and answer. 5 minutes have been allotted at the end of every talk. And each session, there's a different tab for the Q&A. In the entire day, we can stay on the same Zoom link, but for Q&A, you'll need to switch tabs. And go ahead as you hear the talks. If questions come up, place your question into the Q&A, and the chair will be monitoring for the questions and will ask them to the speaker during the 5-minute session after the talk. Speakers, please follow up with the Q&A after the talk if there are questions that we couldn't get to, or if there are some loose ends in terms of discussions to follow up on. The overall platform, these chats will be persistent throughout the meeting and also will be available for the next 3 months. And finally, if anyone has problems, please contact Gemini21 VSM at NOIRLab.edu, or in Whova, go to the community tab and ask organizers anything. And with that, let me take some questions. Are there any questions in terms of logistics? I don't see any on the Whova platform, but I'll just wait for another 30 seconds before I introduce today's chair. Okay, then, as I said, any technical difficulties or questions, please feel free to contact us at these 2 places.